Nico Dwyer here for the 10th inning, giving you another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw Manchester City of the Premier League set an EPL record for 18 consecutive club victories. It would later be tied by Liverpool the next season. Still, very impressive though. We don't have anything quite like that today, but we have a number of Davis Cups to get into. We have some NHL to talk about, and we have some Ballon d'Ors. So if you all enjoy this video, leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to it. This Day in Sports History. And we will start out today in 1918 with the NHL, and Montreal Canadiens' Georges Vezina would become the first goalie in NHL history to record an assist during the Canadiens' 6-3 victory over the Toronto Arenas. Staying in the NHL, moved to 1944, Montreal Canadiens right wing Maurice "Rocket" Richard would become the first player to score 8 points in one game, as the Canadiens would win 9-1 on the day over the Detroit Red Wings. Richard on the day would end up with 5 goals, 3 assists. Moved to 1947 now in the NFL, at the NFL Championship, the Chicago Cardinals would defeat the Philadelphia Eagles 28-21. 5 years later, remain at the NFL Championship, and the Detroit Lions would beat the Cleveland Browns 17-7. We get into our first Davis Cup of the day in 1955. Australia would defeat the USA clean sweep 5-0 to win their 12th of 28 Davis Cup titles. 2 years later, remain at the Davis Cup. Australia would once again defeat the USA, this time 3-2 to claim their 14th of 28 Davis Cups. Take a slight break off the Davis Cups, go to 1958 in the NFL. The quote, greatest game ever played would feature the Baltimore Colts and the New York Giants. The Baltimore Colts would end up winning the championship 23-17 in the first sudden death overtime game in NFL history. But from the NFL Championship, we move back to the Davis Cup in 1960. Australia would once again win the Davis Cup, this time over Italy 4-1 to win their 16th of 28 titles. 1 year later, stay at the Davis Cup, go to the 50th edition of the Davis Cup in 1961. Australia would defeat Italy once again, clean sweep 5-0 to win their 17th of 28. Move up 1 year, stay at the Davis Cup once again. Australia this time would defeat Mexico via clean sweep 5-0 to win their 18th of 28 titles. Then in 1963, stay at the Davis Cup, but this time the USA would defeat Australia 3-2 to win their 19th of 32 titles. Again, we take a little bit of a break off of the Davis Cups, go to 1963, and Jim Clark would win his 7th Grand Prix of the F1 season to finish out the season and win the World Drivers' Championship, his first of second, and Clark would actually become the first Scotsman to ever win. Move to 1965 now in the international world of football, and the Ballon d'Or would be awarded to Benfica striker Eusebio, and to this day he is still the only Benfica player to win the award. Back to the Davis Cup now, in 1966 we would go, and Australia would defeat India 4-1 to win their 21st of 28 titles. 1 year later, in 1967, Australia would once again win, this time defeating Spain 4-1 to win their 22nd of 28 titles. Then in 1968, at the Davis Cup, the USA would defeat Australia 4-1 to win their 20th of 32 titles. Once again, we take a little bit of a break off the Davis Cup, go to 1971. In football, the Ballon d'Or would be awarded to Ajax forward Johan Cruyff, and he would win ahead of Inter forward Sandro Mazzola and Manchester United wing George Best. 3 years later, at the 1974 Fiesta Bowl, Oklahoma State would defeat number 17 BYU by a score 16-6. 1 year later, we go to an NFL playoff game in 1975, and we would have the Hail Mary in the NFC Divisional Playoff game, as Cowboys quarterback Roger Staubach would throw a 50-yard game-winning touchdown to Drew Pearson to defeat the Minnesota Vikings. Back to the Ballon d'Or now in 1976, and Bayern Munich defender Franz Beckenbauer would win the award for the second time ahead of Rob Rensenbrink and Ivo Victor. 6 years later, stay with the Ballon d'Or, and Juventus striker Paolo Rossi would win the award ahead of Bordeaux midfielder Alain Giresse and Juventus midfielder Zbigniew Boniek. 1 year later, we moved back to the Davis Cup in 1983, and Australia would defeat Sweden 3-2 to win their 25th of 28 Davis Cup titles. And our final Davis Cup of the day in 1986, at the 75th edition of the Davis Cup, Australia would once again defeat Sweden by a score of 3-2, and they would claim their 26th of 28 Davis Cup titles. We go from the final Davis Cup to the final Ballon d'Or of the day in 1993, and Juventus striker Roberto Baggio would win the award ahead of Dennis Bergkamp and Eric Cantona. Now we move to the NFL in 2008, and the Detroit Lions would have one of the worst season in NFL history, as they would lose 31-21 to the Green Bay Packers, becoming the first team in NFL history to go winless in a 16-game season. 5 years later, in 2013, go to UFC, and Chris Weidman would defeat Anderson Silva in the second round via knockout to retain UFC middleweight championship. 2 years later, in 2015, in the Major League Baseball offseason, the New York Yankees, already boasting a bullpen of Andrew Miller and Dellin Betances, would trade for Reds closer Aroldis Chapman. We'll end today's video off in 2019 with 3 separate events, 2 of them involving college football, and we will start with that at the 49th edition of the Fiesta Bowl, one of the college football playoff semifinals. Number 3 Clemson would defeat number 2 Ohio State 29-23. That was a close semifinal game. Now we get into the blowout. At the 52nd edition of the Peach Bowl, the other semifinal, number 1 LSU would defeat number 4 Oklahoma 63-28. And we will end this video off in the NBA. And in a game between the Indiana Pacers and the New Orleans Pelicans, history was made by the Holiday brothers. Aaron Holiday started for the Pacers, Drew Holiday started for the Pelicans. Then, with 7 minutes and 47 seconds left in the first quarter, Justin Holiday checked in off the Pacers bench, making them the first trio of siblings to play in the same NBA game. So there you have it. That's what happened on this day in sports history. If I mispronounce any names, I do apologize, but I'll see everybody tomorrow for Nick Dwyer and the 10th inning.